Opposed by Bolton, even as officials at the State Department argued it could move the parties closer to an agreement. Bolton had been deeply skeptical of negotiations with the Taliban. U.S. negotiators have been working under the president's demand that a drawdown occur before November 2020 when he's up for re-election. So this is a political move.
That's all it is.
It is. He doesn't care about the troops over there. This is political theater, folks. The troops are nothing but props to Trump. And for that matter, Republicans.
Yep.
We've said that for years on this show. If you don't believe us, go back into our archives.
You have to understand, this is a man whose whole existence is dependent upon him being absolutely glorified, hourly, daily. Look at the weeks of confrontation now with the Weather Service over his Alabama.
Yeah.
No, seriously. He cannot accept criticism. He'll never be wrong. And to him, the Army is a toy that he plays with. He takes credit for everything anybody ever accomplishes. He weasels in. It's his.
Yeah.
This is a guy that from last week who tops his insanity week after week. And you have to ask yourself, Americans, you have to ask yourself where we're going to be. You can't be on a ride and wonder where it stops. It won't stop with this guy. Where is he going to take us?
Yeah. Continuing in the story, asked if he had been startled by Bolton's quick exit, Pompeo told reporters that he had not. Quote, "I'm never surprised, and I don't mean that on just this issue." End of quote. Bolton's departure could pave the way for a more flexible approach by the Trump administration on North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, and Afghanistan. That, according to former U.S. officials and two current U.S. officials. Bolton had pushed Trump to take a harder line on other regimes he had deemed untrustworthy. Trump, on the other hand, campaigned on the promise to get the U.S. out of conflicts. While Bolton had previously pushed for striking Iran in an effort at regime change, Trump has indicated he would like to sit down with Iranian officials and that regime change is off the table. Pompeo confirmed Tuesday that the president is likely to speak with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani when the UN General Assembly meets in New York. Pompeo said, quote, "The president has made it very clear he's prepared to meet with no preconditions." End of quote. Some officials in the administration had also grown frustrated with Bolton's stance on Venezuela, in which he pushed for the imposition of harsh sanctions on the Maduro regime and opposed renewing a waiver to allow the energy company Chevron to keep operating in the country. When asked earlier about his differences with Bolton, Trump indicated he didn't have a problem with his national security advisor giving an opinion that diverged from his own. In a Meet the Press interview this summer, Trump said, quote, "I have some hawks. Yeah, John Bolton is absolutely a hawk. If it was up to him, he'd take on the whole world at one time, okay? But that doesn't matter because I want both sides." End of quote.
Well, he stepped on Trump's ego. He was too, they even said that when Trudeau is in a room with Trump and he feels downstage because he's more attractive than Trump. It bothers him. He's got to think of some way to. And Bolton, any of these guys, I don't care who he is, he gets rid of them.
Yeah,
he's a sociopath. He gets rid of people that for any reason shadow him.
Mm-hmm. I want to continue.
But the nickname we gave him on this show, Bolton, was Dr. Strangelove, the guy riding the bomb down. So it is good he's gone, but the madman still has his hands on the wheel.
Yep. Let me continue the story here. Bolton has had his fair share of detractors in Congress. Many of those critics praised his departure, with even some who held a favorable view of him said the change could be a positive one. Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, said, quote, "I like John Bolton. I think he sees the world for what it is. I've always had a similar view of threats that we face. But the personal relationship between the president and national security advisor is important. I think the view that there's some public discussions about Bolton being on the other side of meeting with the Taliban probably was a bridge too far." End of quote.
That's the same Lindsey Graham that denounced Trump in the election process, candidly, and now walks around every time he's in the same room with Trump, bent over at the waist.
Mm-hmm. Let me continue. But Senator Mitt Romney, Republican of Utah, said Bolton's departure was a huge loss for the country. Romney told the reporters, quote, "His view was not always the same as everybody else in the room. That's why you wanted him there. The fact that he was a contrarian from time to time is an asset, not a liability." End of quote. This is the third national security advisor that Trump will have to replace. His first, Michael Flynn, was in court for a status hearing on Tuesday before his sentencing for lying to U.S. officials. Flynn's successor, Army Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, said he was retiring after repeated disagreements with Trump. It is unclear what will now happen with the team of foreign policy experts Bolton has built over the past year, a state of affairs adding yet more instability to the national security ranks under Trump's presidency. Yup, bye-bye Bolton. Bye-bye Bolton. Remember the musical Bye-Bye Birdie?
Mm-hmm.
This is good news, but here's what I'm worried about. Who's going to be next to replace Bolton?
Well, they got an Islamophobe, from what I understand, is number one on the list.
Actually, a little bit further into this piece, it says, among those being considered as Bolton's permanent replacement, again, according to Senator Lindsey Graham, who was on Fox Propaganda Channel on Thursday, they include Ricky Waddell, former Deputy National Security Advisor, who is currently assistant to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Brian Hook, a seasoned diplomat who is now the State Department's point person on Iran, and Keith Kellogg, the National Security Advisor to Pence.
Yeah, I think that's the Islamophobe. I think he's number one. Who knows what Trump will do? I
don't think Trump knows what he's going to do. I
swear.
swear.
You know, what you have to look at in these individual stories, they're in little boxes. Mm-hmm. At times, our show right here, Southpaw, steps back and looks at the big picture, looks at the strategy of what Trump is doing. And the problem is he has no strategy.
Yeah.
But the neolibs do,
yes.
and the hawks do, and they slowly work to this madman and get what they want. I'd like to look for a second, Darren, because we've done this before, at the DNC strategy right now.
Yes.
We're looking at a strategy we talked before this show was turned on today that seems to indicate that they're pushing a woman named Elizabeth Warren, a woman who's reported to be progressive, but we pointed out that that's skin thin. She backed out on Bernie. There's all kinds of things she has done that proves she is not a real progressive, including taking back her comments that the Democratic primary was rigged. She has backed that out. Why is she doing that? Again, we're going to look at the big picture. Why is she now meeting with Hillary Clinton? Why is she assuring the DNC that she's not going to start a revolution like Bernie has claimed, a political revolution? Well, it's pretty clear. They've taken Bernie's progressive momentum and synergy, and they're trying to shift it over to Elizabeth Warren. The number one phrase that you'll hear repeated over and over again on mainstream media is that she's cutting into Bernie's support. They've been saying this for months. She's cutting into the support. They know she's fake.
That's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, well, they can say whatever they want. They also show you rigged polls that are far, far from accurate.
And they don't show any Bernie rallies on TV where he's got over 10,000 people consistently showing up in different cities.
Exactly. But with Biden unable to talk and chew gum at the same time, what they're doing is realizing he's going down in flame. He's got the big establishment image. Take a fake progressive. They delight in those, right? Back her. She's a female. Ruin Bernie. They'll do anything, like Jimmy Dore said, anything, including re-elect Trump, rather than get Bernie Sanders as their candidate.
Of course, because they know they can't control Bernie. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that the businesses can pull the strings like a puppet master. And they know they can't get that with Bernie. They'll never get that with Bernie.
Audience, do you see how fast these fake progressives backtrack? Remember when Harris raised her hand that she was for single-payer health care? It was the next day she backtracked on that.
Yep.
Now you have Warren saying that the DNC was rigged, the primary was rigged, and now she has turned that around into saying very succinctly, this is her quote, she suggested instead that the Democratic National Committee, DNC, showed some bias, but that the selection process had been fair. I agree with Brazil, who has said over and over the last few days that while there was some bias at the DNC, overall the 16 primary process was fair, and Hillary made history.
And where
Bull crap. This is right out of the Hill.
Okay.
Right out of the Hill. Those backtracks are a plague with these candidates. Every single one of them will backtrack on health care for all.
Of course they will.
It may not be as fast as Harris, but they'll do it.
And just to kind of clarify something, because I've gotten criticism from people that don't know me. Oh, well, you just don't like Warren because she's a woman. You don't want a woman to be elected president. Oh, really? I'll tell you what. The only woman I want elected president right now can't run until 2024, and her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's not 35 yet.
I say to those people who say the only reason you're against her is because you're a woman, I turn right around and say, hey, the only reason you like her is because she's a woman.
There you go. What was it I said? There was somebody last week on Facebook. Don't let your love of Bernie ruin the party. I responded, don't let your love of the party ruin Bernie.
Exactly.
There
Which
you
is
go.
Exactly what they are working at right now.
If you want to set the table, I can turn it for you, folks.
Say, Darren, if I mortgage the house here, do you think we could get Pam Anderson on the show? I'd do it. I got two kidneys. I'll sell a couple. I'll sell one of them.
You just want to talk to her about what she did on The View, which was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Shut down Meghan McCain.
Oh.
It was great. I didn't get to see it. I only saw a little clip of it.
Listen,
because I can't watch that show. Between Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, who are both nothing but neoliberal fascists at this point. I'm just going to call it like it is. They're too rich for their own good.
Yeah.
They have forgotten about the people. The people are something that they walk on because they're rich and famous. Same with Meghan McCain.
Yeah. No, Whoopi's a total fraud.
Yeah.
They all are. And now they got Meghan McCain on there, which makes literally no sense. But here's the issue, and you might be able to respond and bring some actual footage.
Yeah.
They were talking about the Julian Assange situation.
Yeah.
And McCain went through the regular conservative attack that he endangered soldiers, and that then the other one, what's her name? Not Whoopi. What's the other one?
Behar?
Behar said, well, yeah, and Social Security recipient numbers were given out. Yeah. Pam sat right there and took them all on. Just stared right at him.
Calmly.
And said, the U.S. military has killed more people worldwide. And Meghan had a fit. And when somebody stood up and started to applaud Pam Anderson, McCain attacked the person.
Of
said,
course.
hold it, sir. Calm down, sir. Now there's calls for her to be fired. By God, there should be.
Oh, absolutely they should.
You need to watch it, folks. If you need a little encouragement, if you need some vitamin support for your progressive stamina, watch Pamela Anderson. It was music to my ears. There was no coverage in mainstream media. She took the clothes off the emperors there at that show and did it in real class. Really. Didn't get excited. Never raised her voice.
And she was saying that Assange's health is really deteriorating, which, can you blame him? The conditions that he's been in?
Well,
can you blame him for his health deteriorating?
We've talked about Gary Webb. We've talked about heroes on this show who were whistleblowers. Mm-hmm. There's none
Edward
greater.
Snowden.
Yeah, there's none greater than Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. Pamela pointed out the tape that he was responsible for releasing, the one that has Manning in prison right now, showed target practice on a group of kids and journalists in Iraq, snickers and laughs by guys in a helicopter, by our military, that was released thanks to Julian Assange. And that's the picture our country and our militaristic country does not want to play. That's the problem with Julian Assange. He let the truth out. He discloses the militarism. He discloses the corporation greed. He disclosed the corruption in the DNC. He exposed the complicity between the DNC and the media. He showed it to the United States. The United States doesn't want to look at it. Plain and simple.
Of course. Well, we got a win for the good guys recently. This is by Oliver Darcy and Caitlin Palance reporting for CNN. This is dated September 3rd out of New York. A federal judge ruled against the White House and ordered Donald Trump and Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham to immediately restore the press credentials of Brian Karem, a Playboy columnist and CNN political analyst. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras wrote in his opinion, quote, Karem has shown that even the temporary suspension of his pass inflicts irreparable harm on his First Amendment rights. End of quote. That right there, folks, is a period. End of story. Let me refresh everybody's memory. Karem had his hard pass removed because he got into